Naka-off po yung mic niyo, ma'am.
Oo nga. Okay. So for today, we'll be discussing two topics. Variation in handwriting and illnesses that may affect your handwriting. So when we say variation in handwriting, it comes from the word vary. Vary. V-A-R-Y, which means iba-iba. Madaming iba-ibang bagay. Okay. Pag sinabing variation in handwriting, magkakaroon ng pagkakaiba sa pagsusulat mo or sa sulat mo. This is because the hand ordinarily is not an instrument of precision and therefore we may not expect every habitual manual operation to be absolutely uniform. Sabi dyan, na hindi natin may expect na yung pagsusulat natin ay saktong-sakto dun sa mga nauna nating pagsusulat. Nauna rin nating mga sinulat na. Kahit na sa isang papel, di ba? Pag nagsusulat tayo, of course, madaming letters dyan na paulit-ulit nating nasusulat. Pero, mapapansin ninyo na hindi rin magkakaparehas yung itsura nila na kapag pinatong nyo sila sa isa't isa ay magka-sakto ba? Saktong-sakto sila, hindi mangyayari yun. Kung ang handwriting na yon is an authentic one, but kung ito ay forged, o kaya ito ay itinrace lamang, then, of course, makikita natin na yung mga letters ay saktong-sakto kapag pinatong natin sa isa't isa. Okay. Yan. Then, the greater the skill in the art of penmanship, the less the variations there will be in the form of individualized letters as well as in the writing as a whole. So if you are, for example, your job is a calligrapher, as in you do, nagle-lettering ka. I have a friend na ganun ang work niya. Nagle-lettering siya ng mga quotes. Tapos, gumagamit siya ng iba't ibang mediums. Minsan may watercolor, minsan sign pen, color pencils. Depende sa kung ano yung request ng client niya. Then, ayun na nga. Kapag mas experienced writer ka, kapag namamaster mo na yung skill na yon, mas konti ang variations. Pero kung katulad natin na nagsusulat lang pag nagle-lecture, minsan hindi pa tayo nagle-lecture, 'di ba? Ay madaming mapapansin na variation doon sa ating handwriting. Okay? So ano ba ang causes ng variation? So the function of some external element is one cause of variation. For example, influence of the available space. Imagine ninyo yung sarili niyo, nakaupo kayo malapit sa pader. Tapos yung braso ninyo, as in siksik na. So ano ang tendency kapag ikaw ay nagsusulat? Yung sulat mo, baka ipilit niya na pagkasyahin pa doon sa papel na pinagsusulatan niya. Kasi nga, at pilit ba? Kasi masikip na. Kumpara din sa kung ang lamesa ng isang writer ay malawak. For example, meron siyang 6 feet na table. So, mas relax. Mag-iiba yung flow, yung rhythm ng sulat niya. Iba rin kung 2 feet lang. At iba nga kung siksik na siksik. So, yun. That will cause variation. Number 2 is abnormal conditions such as physical injury, toxic effects, inebriations, emotion, and deception. We've discussed this sa past lessons natin na ang isang paraan para matukoy ang sulat, kung ma-identify natin kung kaninong sulat ang nasa isang dokumento is through their accidental characteristics. But take note na kung magko-compare tayo ng mga ganitong documents, dapat yung standard natin ay katulad din ng condition doon sa question. For example, yung nandyan, physical injury. Kung ang question document, sinasabi na ito ay sinulat ng pilay yung writer, dapat humanap ka rin ng standard na kung saan isinulat din habang pilay yung writer. Then, tsaka mo i-compare. Okay. Although medyo mahirap to, but there are some cases na makakahanap ka naman ng standard. Okay? These are transitory changes. If you can also remember our past lessons. Pag sinabi nating transitory changes, transit, dumadaan lang. So, hindi siya permanent. It is only there because of some underlying condition. For example nga, yung pilay. Pag magaling ka na at hindi ka na pilay, iba na ulit ang sulat mo kasi back to normal na. Nung pilay ka, iba rin ang sulat mo. Kasi nga, hirap ka sa pagsusulat. Iba rin ang sulat mo kapag lasing ka. Iba ang sulat mo kapag malungkot ka, kapag galit ka. Kasi ang tendency kapag galit ka, mas madiin yung sulat mo. Sabi nga dyan yung emotion, di ba? And number 3 is the position of the letter. So all letters are to be found initially, medially, and finally. Pag sinabi nating initially, ito yung simula. Pag sinabi nating medial, sa gitna, and then final sa dulo. For example, my name, Leslie, L-E-S-L-I-E. Dalawa ang E. And then, yung isa nasa dulo, yung isa bandang gitna. So, magkaiba ang itsura ng letter E dun sa bandang gitna at doon sa letter E na nasa dulo. Yun. So, that causes variation. And then, the fact of the different position, especially in combination with another and particular letter, may modify any of them in some way or another. Okay. Next is illnesses that may affect handwriting of an individual. Nabanggit natin kanina na kapag may sakit o kaya may ibang emosyon na nararamdaman, mag-iiba ang handwriting. So here we'll focus on illnesses. So first is agraphia. This refers to the inability to write in an orderly fashion but can still be able to manipulate writing materials. Kaya mong humawak ng ballpen pero hirap kang magsulat. Minsan hindi mo maalala yung sinasabi mo. Sinusulat mo. Okay. This may be due to brain lesions such as tumors, brain infections, injuries, or head injuries. I'll show you a video kung saan may sample tayo ng agraphia.
Rebecca, I am a PhD candidate and I am learning how to write after a brain injury without graphia, meaning writing. Therefore, I have lost my ability to write. What agraphia looks like depends on the part of your brain that was damaged. For me, I had a brain hemorrhage in my left parietal lobe, and it has left me with the inability to remember how to spell words. In those early days after injury, I couldn't spell my kids' names, I couldn't spell my name, and I had so much grief as it related to writing.
In this test, I was meant to write down words that were said, and you can see that I couldn't write down any of the words or spell them. It's just a bad day.
In this video, starting with number 13, the words are I, hat, the, it, my, book, had. Number 20 is be, yet, cake, seen, some, read, shoe, friend, before, comb, juice, and finally laughing.
In the spelling example, the purpose of the homework is to improve memory. As the speed increases, the spelling errors also increase. Not only do I have frequent spelling errors of commonly known words, I also have the wrong letter sounds in the word pink and in purple.
Yep, we're ready to go.
Okay, number 9 is necessary. This is necessary for your progress.
Necessary. Okay.
Okay, number 10 is solemn. It was a solemn affair.
Solemn. So number 10
Is solemn.
So what I wrote is SOLLEM. So let me see if I can figure it out. That's not right. Solemn. Give me a hint. There's not two L's.
That's right. There's only one L. And it's a word that has a silent letter in it.
There's an N.
And where does that occur?
After the M.
Yes. So how would you spell it now?
SOLEMN.
Yes.
Wait. I have UMN. That's not right. I have U. It's SOLEM. SOLEMN for solemn.
That's right.
Okay.
This is the end of my video on
So, yun. Kung mapapansin ninyo, those are basic words. These are words that really... sometimes you can use it in your everyday life. Diba? Necessary. Yan. Solemn. Kung mapapansin niya, saan na ba yun? Sinasabi niya dito, sa letter U, it's E. So, ang ganitong sakit ay dahil nga naapektuhan yung utak mo. So, yung part na nagko-communicate, part responsible for communication is affected. So, yung mga basic na words na alam mong gamitin at alam mong i-spell, hindi mo na alam after having this disease. Okay? Ayun. So, that's agraphia. Of course, kung may ganito ka, ayan nga, you have difficulty in spelling, and of course, it will also have affect your handwriting. Okay. Next is aphasia. So this refers to the impairment of the power to use and understand words in communicating. It comes from the Greek word aphatos, which means speechless. Sa ganito namang sakit, may nakakapagsalita ka. Hindi naman siya literal na speechless. Nakakapagsalita ka, pero walang sense yung sinasabi mo. Hindi yung mga kaibigan natin na wala talagang kwentang kausap pa. Hindi yun. Pero eto, nagsasalita siya as in, walang connect yung mga words doon sa mga sinasabi niya. Doon sa, hindi nag-fit yung words sa sentences niya. Okay, I'll show you another video. Aphasia. This is fluent aphasia. Ibig sabihin, fluent siya magsalita, but you can't understand or his words does not make sense. Okay.
Hi, Byron. How are you?
I'm happy. Are you pretty? You look good.
Pansinin
What are
niyo
you
yung
doing today?
Subtitle.
We stayed with the water over here at the moment and talked with the people for them over there. They're diving for them at the moment. They'll save in the moment. He'll have water very soon for him. With luck for him.
So we're on a cruise and we're about to
We
get to
will
Juneau.
store it right here and they'll save their hands right there for them.
And what were we just doing with the iPad?
Right at the moment, they don't show a darn thing.
With the iPad that we were doing. Like here?
I'd like my change for me and change hands for me. It would happen. I would talk with Donna sometimes. We're out with them. Other people are working with them. I'm very happy with them.
Good.
This girl was very good and happy. And I play golf and hit other trees. We play out with the hands. We save a lot of hands on hold for us, other hands. I don't know what you get, but I talk with a lot of hand for him. Sometime. Am I talk of any more to saying?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I hope the world lasts for you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Okay. Pansin nyo yung mga sinasabi niya. Di ba fluent naman siya magsalita? Yung hindi naman mispronounced yung words. Tama yung pagkakabigkas niya. But, yung placement nga ng words, wala siyang sense doon sa sentence niya. For example, yung una. Yung pinakaunang, ayan. Nakita nyo ba yung ano niya? Subtitle. Sabi nung interviewer, "Hi Byron, how are you?" Then sabi ni Byron, "I'm happy. Are you pretty? You look good." Okay, 'di ba? Walang sense yung pagtanong niya kung maganda ba siya. Are you pretty? 'Di ba? Yan yung fluent aphasia. You can talk to them, 'di ba? Parang kung hindi ka marunong umintindi ng English, akala mo nagme-make sense siya. Kasi 'di ba maayos yung pananalita niya, but the words does not really make sense. Okay. Ano pa ba? Ayan. Sabi niya, "I'd like my change for me and change hands for me." Gusto niya ng bagong kamay. It would happy, sabi niya. 'Di ba? It would, siguro ang ibig niya sabihin, it would make me happy. Yun yung may sense, but it would happy, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's aphasia. Speechless, yun ang ibig sabihin, but not literal na pipe, hindi yun. Walang sense, yun ang ibig sabihin. Okay. And then, next is dyslexia. So this refers to the inability to read misspelled words. This is considered to be a learning disability. So when a person has dyslexia, hindi siya makabasa. Hindi niya don't get me wrong, marunong siyang magbasa. May skill siya sa pagbabasa. But yung basahin yung mga words na naka-print or nakasulat, hindi niya kayang basahin. And hindi niya rin alam kung wrong spelling na siya sa kanyang mga, dancing letters. Parang sumasayaw nga daw yung mga letra kapag nagbabasa. Hindi siya marunong spell ng tama. Pero alam niya yung spelling, hindi niya lang maisulat yung tamang spelling. Hindi niya mabasa kung ano yung naisusulat niya. Parang dun sa isang movie, sa isang page, merong pinasulat yung teacher, tapos sinulat, andun yung word na monkey. 3 times sinulat yung word na monkey sa iisang papel, and 3 times din magkakaiba yung spelling. 'Di ba? Kung hindi natin alam ang spelling, kung hindi natin alam ang spelling, isusulat natin yung wrong spelling pero 3 beses din. Pero siya kasi 3 magkakaibang spelling yung isinulat niya sa iisang word. And then he was identified na meron ngang dyslexia. Okay. Another video. May movie nito. Familiar ba kayo doon? Later.
Dyslexia is a learning disability type thing, and it affects me in reading, but I also have dysgraphia, which affects me in spelling and writing. One thing that I have trouble with is I can't read my writing. So when my teacher asked me to read out loud my writing, I can't because I can't read my writing.
It's not a huge difference. I'd say definitely don't let it get in your way and think that it's a downside or a negative. It's just a different way of learning, and you might just need to do some different stuff or whatever works for you.
Dyslexia doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you're really smart and different than other people.
So that you're not average. That could mean many things. It's like you might be worse in some areas, like I was worse in reading and writing, but you might excel in other things like math for me, science. I enjoy those greatly.
I'll just pretend I'm sick. I can't go to school because I'll be so far behind on work, so I won't understand even what unit we're on anymore. I stopped doing homework. I dropped my grades so low. I nearly didn't even pass the grade.
When I was younger, I was reading way below grade level, and it was really hard. I'm really good at comprehending what the story is trying to say, but actually reading through all of the words was really hard. So I got over that, and now I'm reading above grade level, but still. When somebody makes fun of me, I tell them I just have a different way of thinking, a different way of doing stuff.
The lowest moment I ever had in school was probably in second grade, and none of my papers were hung up in the hallway, and on Fridays we would always get an extra recess, and I never got to go out for that. I always had to sit on the wall and do my homework because I needed extra help and I didn't get it, and I just couldn't get it. I tried very hard, but I couldn't get it. I didn't get the same possibilities that everybody else did. They never saw what I wrote. They never understood it. So it didn't really mean anything.
Homework is an experience. It usually takes me 5 or 6 hours to do not all of my homework. I can get 3 assignments done maybe, and it hurts my mind, and sometimes if I have lots to do, I even wake up early and do more homework.
We would have these coded books on which color you were, and of course, me being a dyslexic, I was in the lowest color. You kind of feel alone at the very beginning.
Okay, so yun yung experience ng mga taong may dyslexia. Sorry. Yun. It doesn't mean that they don't have the skill to read. They can read, but they really find it hard kasi nga daw sumasayaw yung mga letters. Of course, I don't have experience. I don't have dyslexia. But it can be corrected. Sabi nga, this is a learning disability. Kung maalala nyo rin yung kwento ng isang bata, sabi niya, dati daw, ang pagbabasa niya is below grade level. So kung grade 4 siya, ang reading skill niya pang grade 1 or grade 2. But now daw, above year level na grade level na siya. So kung grade 6 siya ngayon, baka pang grade 7 or grade 8 na ang reading skill niya. So it can be corrected. Okay? Yan yung mga pagkakataon na madali namang spell or hindi naman sa madali. Basic siya. It's a basic word. We use it every day. But it's a word that is hard to spell for people who are dyslexic. Yun nga. Of course, because of their illness. Okay, next is paragraphia. It is the inability to write the correct words, but ability to copy text is retained. They can write words kung meron silang kopya. Pero kung i-dictate mo lang, hindi nila masusulat yon ng tama ang spelling. Hindi nila masusulat yun ng tama. Okay? Next is Alzheimer's disease. So this is due to old age. A person who is above 60 years of age, due to senility, reverts to childhood and loses memory and the ability to read and write. And that, of course, will change your skills in handwriting. So Alzheimer's, hindi ito yung pag-uulyanin. Okay, iba yun.
Developed Alzheimer's. And initially I was quite distressed and upset about it. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really change anything.
Happen to absolutely anyone, just as cancer can. When we were growing up, Mum was absolutely bonkers. She was silly. Mum really didn't care what people thought, and the more fun we were having, the better. 10 years ago, we started to think something was maybe a little bit off with Mum. At the time, we put it down to a little bit of depression because of my parents' breakup. Then we started to notice more sort of worrying changes, like hitting a lamppost when she's driving the car or putting odd objects like in the freezer or in the washing machine. We went to UCH and the doctor there suggested Mum did these various verbal tests and then sent her for an MRI, and after that a lumbar puncture to confirm the results which were seen in the scan, that she did in fact have posterior cortical atrophy, a form of Alzheimer's where it is the back of the brain which affects vision and motor skills that is initially affected. She was devastated. She cried. She said she wished there was nothing wrong with her. She was embarrassed. Within the first year of Mum's diagnosis, she didn't know what day, month, week, year it was.
Have a cold drink?
She lost the ability to read, write and draw very, very early on. They were the three things she loved the most in life. Mum was a fine artist, and for those things to be taken very early, it's tragic for Mum.
I'd like to go back yet, to go to one of my paintings, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be really nice, wouldn't it?
It would be good, yeah, it would be lovely. It really is heartbreaking to watch someone you love for such a long period of time just change.
Okay, so yun, di ba malinaw naman sinabi, she lost the ability to read and write and draw. So that can affect your of course, your handwriting skills kung meron kang Alzheimer's disease. Okay, so that's a story. And now, saan na ako? Next is Parkinson's disease. So this is due to old age as well, but uncontrolled tremor is present. Hindi mapigilan yung tremors, yung panginginig. Okay? So I'll show you another video. Hirap kasi kung puro lang ako at hindi nyo na-visualize. Parkinson's. Tama ba yun? Parkinson's. Okay.
In 1976 at Duke University, actually quite a lot. Parkinson's slowed me down, literally. We started to notice subtle changes. Ellen would say, "John, you're not swinging your right arm when you walk." She'd also ask me to repeat myself a lot. I was very concerned she was losing her hearing.
Right. He told me I just wasn't listening, or maybe I was going deaf. Yeah, so.
But I found out that's very common for Parkinson's pairs.
One thing that John noticed, and this is what caused him to go to our family doctor, was that he was having pain in his right shoulder. So then he sent us to the neurologist, and it was interesting. The neurologist said, has your writing gotten smaller? And yes, and he said, is your family having more trouble hearing you? And we just started to laugh. So he was on to that sort of the typical signs of early Parkinson's.
First thing when I got the diagnosis, I was afraid. I wasn't familiar with the disease. Since then, I've learned that it's nothing to be afraid of. It's not a death sentence. Quite to the contrary, I think there's a lot of reason that we can have strength for today and hope for tomorrow. So 14 years later, I continue to have Parkinson's, but I like to say I have Parkinson's, but Parkinson's doesn't have me.
He's very self-disciplined, very organized, very logical, and I tell people that he's my hero. He's my hero every morning. He does his exercises and he does his reading, and he's just that personality trait has just served him well, and I appreciate it.
You want to guess who my hero is?
Okay, so yun naman, nabanggit sa video na tinanong ng neurologist, di ba, nung nagkakaroon na ng pain sa shoulder yung patient, has your writing gotten smaller? Lumit ba yung sulat mo? O, di ba? So it affected his handwriting ability. Okay, Parkinson's. And then we have ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease. This includes the weakening of muscles. Of course, you will also lose your ability to write kasi nga hindi na kaya ng kamay mo because of course, it is also composed of muscles. And then, tuloy ko na muna, arthritis. Familiar naman siguro kayo dito. This affects the central nervous system or the CNS, which includes muscles, ligaments, and joints or the writing hand. Di ba minsan yung mga magulang natin o kaya yung mga matatanda, hirap ng humakbang sa hagdan kasi masakit daw. Yung iba sa kanila may arthritis nga. So, of course, when you have arthritis, you will find it hard to write kasi nga masakit. Okay. And then, for the last video, ALS. Ay, mali. Eto.
Sandra Murphy-Pack has been an artist and performer her whole life.
I was a ballet dancer, tap, and all that.
But this footwork is new. It was in 2013 that Sandra, an active mother of 3, first noticed her symptoms. She was 49 and began to have trouble raising her left arm.
It took about a year of what I would call the medical odyssey to figure out what was happening. Once I got to that Mayo Clinic, I was diagnosed, I think, within an hour.
Sandra's diagnosis? Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, commonly called ALS.
So ALS is a deadly or at least severely debilitating disease that affects the motor nerve cells. So it's a gradual loss of different functions that rob people of their independence. People become more and more dependent on others for help.
Over time, Sandra lost the use of both her arms and hands. By 2016, Sandra was dependent on a ventilator to help her breathe and a feeding tube for nutrition.
I stopped walking at the beginning of 2017.
Despite the disease's attack on her body, Sandra's creativity never waned. She adapted.
And I put my foot on the canvas, and then the colors come to me.
It's like a dance, but Sandra is the choreographer now, instructing her friend Sarah on what paint she wants and where to place her foot to bring her vision to life.
When I'm working, I move into a meditative zone. The paintings reflect that.
The paintings also reflect the progression of Sandra's ALS.
And they are ever changing with the changes in my physical ability.
Though she requires round-the-clock care, Sandra says thanks to her art, she is not confined by her disease.
There's a lot of freedom when you don't have a lot of control.
While treatment can help control the symptoms of ALS, Dr. Oscarson says there is no cure. Research, he says, is key, and though she may not be the beneficiary, Sandra is a willing participant.
Sandra is an amazing person.
Okay, so yun. Ayan. Sa ALS, of course, kita nyo naman yung patient kanina, di ba? Na naka-ventilator na lang siya, may feeding tube na siya, because she doesn't have control over her muscles now. Kaya, sabi nga, di ba, she became more dependent with others kasi hindi niya na kayang gawin yung mga everyday na ginagawa ng isang normal na person because of the disease. So, of course, that will also affect your handwriting. Kaya nga siya, nagpe-paint siya gamit yung paa niya dahil hindi na kaya ng kamay niya. And kahit na paa ang gamit niya, di ba, may katulong pa rin siya sa pag-paint. Okay, so that's our lesson for today.